Raise your hand if you've experienced something similar. It was my first year in high school. I transferred to an all-boys school, and after some time making some friends, hanging out, I came across a few guys who, I didn't really know, but this came off the bat and called me a wanker, like, you're a wanker, and I was like, what the hell is a wanker? And the way they were saying it, they were attacking me and basically belittling me, laughing at me and pointing fingers, It didn't feel good. I felt attacked, I felt ashamed, and I still remember, they created the shell I withdrew within my senses because I was being teased, but I really didn't know what I was being teased about. And at that time, being in a new environment, it was, pretty awkward. But if you don't know what a wanker is basically someone who masturbates. Well, for a guy, masturbating. Maybe you came across something similar when you were growing up in school, high school. I know a lot of my women friends had issues around being called a slut or whore, body shaming. And we have a lot of these bullying and negative connotations to ourselves in this vulnerable stage of our development. We're coming to our own bodies, we're coming to our own selves, and things are happening that we don't understand. Sex ed was terrible back in the day. Hi, my name is Zakir Mohammadi. I'm the founder of Somatic Sensory Sexology. I help individuals navigate the stickiness around intimacy, sensuality, sexuality, relationships, and more. So this is just a follow-on from the previous episodes, why couples don't have sex. Today we'll be talking about shame and guilt. In somatic sexology, we emphasize how we relate to sex through the awareness within our bodies. You've probably heard of the mind-body connection, but what does that really mean? And how does it promote and hinder our sexuality or great sex and orgasms? Well, it all has to do with the layers and conditions that we have. Shame and guilt is a big part of that. As we shed the layers, we realize that our minds and thoughts, feelings, emotions are all connected. It's how we relate to ourselves that allows us to express authentically. Sex is not just a mechanical process. We're not just robots and, basically doing the motion, right? We might have the hardware, but it's much, much more. It's how we feel around sex and intimacy. I remember a client of mine, let's call her Jane. Jane couldn't have penetrative sex. It was too painful for her. When she came in, she realized she was holding on to a lot of anxiety around penetration. But the interesting part of her journey was that there was underlying conditionings on how she felt about herself from a very young age. And that conditioning wasn't obvious. Our biggest sexual organ is our minds, and our subconscious patterning can interfere with that quite easily. It's the stuff that we don't realize is making us feel icky, disinterested, avoidance, or just feeling shitty about the whole situation. So what is sexual shame? Well, shame in itself is not an innate emotion. It's something that we inherit. So when we are made to feel bad about something, that's generally what's called shaming in a nutshell. So let's start off first with a few examples, right? I can't believe I fantasize about someone while having sex with my partner. I want to be slapped on my ass, but it's wrong. Anal sex is filthy, but I enjoy it. So, as you can see here, we have conflicting thoughts. It's something that can feel so good and pleasurable, but at the same time, we are casting judgment on that very experience, and that's shaming. We learn, so where we get this from? Well, from our parents, culture, peers, and so forth. How we perceive ourselves in our bodies, how we perceive our experiences, and how we judge that to be wrong is basically shaming. So So what other stories could be lurking between our ears, in our mind, that's hindering us from experiencing fantastic intimacy and mind-blowing orgasms, right? Sexual shame is a key factor for many of us. Let me ask you a few questions, see if you can relate to them. Are you uncomfortable talking around sex? Is it a taboo subject? Close your eyes when there's a kissing scene, right? How many of us can relate to that? Viewing sex as a bad or something that is dirty, something that you shouldn't do. I met a gentleman 3-4 weeks ago, and he said he found oral sex to be quite filthy. How could he suck his partner's privates to give a pleasure, because that's a place where, it's dirty? How do you feel about your own body? Can you actually honor your own temple and self-pleasure yourself? Do you feel that masturbation is wrong and sinful, or do you withdraw and disconnect from yourself? Again, do you have some sort of sexual dysfunction? It could be ED, it could be, for men, it could be impotency, weak erections. Again, for women, not having orgasms, busy mind. So there could be a lot of layering here that could relate to sexual shame. If any of these questions hit the mark within you, you may be holding onto a layer of shame and guilt. If you find this video interesting, please feel free to share and comment below.